Press coverage from our Jets reporter Rich Cimini. Josh McCown getting some first-team reps during the walkthrough. That would tell you that Sam Darnold's foot may limit his participation. It is our wild card confidence meter.
You know, I don't know that I'm mild or wild. Feels wild on the future.
We're talking about this year.
2019 is going to be a big year. I'm going to graduate high school. The Colts are going to make the playoffs.
That's mild. That's
the kind of salsa I can tolerate.
Again, once you graduate from high school,
it'll change up.
That's not fair.
Negative.
I'm going to bring out the aqua color.
Color coordinating for Field, so he's comfortable.
Well, he did that.
Appreciate that.
Why'd you go with the aqua instead of the royal blue?
We got the right shade.
I'll just double it up just for.
Oh, there you go.
I wasn't sure if that was allowed by the producers.
We're back, and so is wild or mild. We got Dan here instead of Field. So Field
tough act to follow.
It's
I was
exam.
going to say, it may not
you
match.
know?
It may not match.
Yeah, he's studying. Listen, so let's start with this. We're going to look at teams who potentially we will see in the postseason. We'll tell you how confident we are, if you will, in their ability to be in the mix. Let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. If the season ended today, they would be in the playoffs, but we're not. We're down to the home stretch, but nevertheless, 3 games remaining. Who's his Tim?
This is my turn
Tim.
here,
Okay.
and we don't have purple or yellow on the
so
palette
Field is
here.
disappointed.
So Field is probably very upset with us, but
Cringy.
I'm going to have them as, you know, kind of in the middle of the road here in terms of mild or wild, but favoring the wild side of it. And the reason is I think they have a really good shot to win 2 out of their next 3, and winning 2 out of the next 3 is a really good shot. You know, as you know, with 9 wins that they're making it in. I'm not sure they're a division winner. I'd feel better about it if Lamar Jackson's ankle wasn't sore, if we had seen Joe Flacco at some point. I guess just the uneasiness of maybe being in a 2-quarterback system for the last 3 games of the season, and the uncertainty with that. But outside of that, playing good defense, I think we've got a pretty good shot.
All right, the next 3 teams, all 7-6, but we'll go in order of the tiebreakers, and that means up first the Indianapolis Colts coach.
Okay, the big win last week. They go into Houston to beat the Texans, who ran off like 9 in a row. So I think right now I'm going to go with wildly mild. Okay.
Wildly mild.
Yes.
So
yes.
middle of the road is what you're saying.
And the reason for that is obviously the quarterback Andrew Luck. He does have T.Y. Hilton. Eric Ebron's become a big part of his weaponry. I think Chris Ballard's done a great job. I think the defense is playing better. Again, they've got a bunch of division teams. The remaining schedule, hey, let's be honest, last 3 games of a season are important for everybody in the playoffs. They're 7-6. They got a shot, especially with that QB, number 12, Andrew Luck.
Who finally looks healthy and is playing the way he did before. All right, up next, the Miami Dolphins. We know what happened against New England. You could feed off that momentum, perhaps. Daniel?
Perhaps.
Perhaps
I don't
is the
think
operative
so.
word. He says
think, yeah, the arrow got me again. Remember when they got me before?
Gosh,
I will never learn.
Eventually, you're going to learn.
All over the place.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I had an X.
7-6. Yeah,
Angry
they needed a miracle lateral play to get to 7-6 and avoid being 6-7. They're 1-5 on the road, and 2 of their last 3 games are on the road. So I find it difficult to believe they're going to get 2-9-7 at Minnesota this week. The Vikings, as we've discussed, really need that game, and it's going to be in Minnesota. I think it's impressive what Adam Gase has done here, because I don't know. I look at this roster, and I don't know how they're winning more than they lose. But I find it difficult to believe that they'll finish it off with a playoff berth for the 2nd time in 3 years.
All right, the miracle in Miami stops there, apparently, according to Dan.
Messy arrow out of here.
All right, Tennessee Titans. Timothy.
Yeah, you know, I'm coming all the way over here with this. I think not liking their chances. It's just, the team is just all season long. It's been peaks and valleys. They're so inconsistent. And you know, as you look at their remaining schedule, listen, very winnable games. With that being said, I just, you know, you see them go, you know, play the Colts and not have a competitive game earlier in the year. They could win their next 3. They could also easily lose their next 3. I think I'm less concerned about who they play and who they are. You know, just they haven't been consistent on offense all season long. And defensively, I think what's been exposed is that they're not very good at stopping the run. So I don't love their chances because of where they sit now, you know, in some of the games that they've, you know, quite honestly just given away.
All right, sounds like we're
Sounds
what
like
do
Ravens,
you call it?
right?
Mildly, wildly mild.
Yes.
Ravens
That
seem
was
like the
mildly
winner.
mild.
The Ravens
Yes, the
seem like
Ravens
the
are
net
wild,
winner
wild
here for
segment.
sure. The Legion of Boom is gone, but they're back to producing the same results. You'll meet the new stars of Seattle's defense. Plus, Courtney Cronin checks in with more on that situation in Minnesota. Seattle's pass defense stepped up in a big way when it mattered most last night, holding Kirk Cousins to a 14% completion rate on 3rd and 4th down. That's tied for the best mark in any game under Pete Carroll, and also held them without a first down on those attempts. Here's Mark Schwartz now on the changing of the guard defensively in Seattle.
The formula was familiar, even if much of the Seahawks defense was not.
He's taken down Frank Clark with the first sack of the night.
Richard Sherman is not walking through that door, but rookie Trey Flowers is blooming as a shutdown corner. And 23-year-old Shaquille Griffin is winning battles against star wideouts Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. And Jacob Martin forced a critical turnover to put Minnesota out of its misery.
Pressure, ball is out and scooped up. Justin Coleman on the return, and he's going to score with it.
The Legion of Boom is gone forever. Long live the Legion of Whom.
Some great things, and that's something that we got to continue to expect and see from them to make those plays that we need to be made, and those guys we continue to count on. And the rookies continue to play the way they play, they're going to have some big names.
The Legion of Boom is just, man, it's a mindset. It's all about loving our brothers. That's where it started, and I think we got something special going now.
Seattle still has a signature player anchoring this defense, but Bobby Wagner will not tolerate any comparisons to ghosts of Seahawks past.
You don't have to be the dudes that used to be here, and they're like once in a lifetime players, so you don't have to be that. You know, you just go out there and do your job and do what God, called on you to do, and be whoever you are. You don't got to be anybody else, and I think that's what it is. Guys just going out there having fun and being themselves.
Who's preaching that to them?
Me, the guy that's been here for 7 years.
So a defense that did not find the end zone in its first 11 games has now scored a touchdown for the second straight week, creating separation from its closest wild card challengers.
Is this a team that can go deep into the playoffs?
I believe so.
Why do you think so?
We don't work hard to say somebody's better than us. That's not going to happen.
We had a lot of doubters coming into this to the season, and we just wanted to go out there and prove everybody wrong, prove everybody that we had the talent, we had the leadership, we had the players to make plays, and that's what we're doing. We're growing each game, we're getting better each game, and that's really all we want to do. We want to be the hot team towards the end of the season, and I feel like that's what we're doing.
On the other side of that Legion of Whom last night were the Vikings, and our top story this afternoon, they have fired offensive coordinator John DeFilippo. Kevin Stefanski was named the interim OC. He will take over play calling duties immediately. Courtney Cronin has been following the story in Minnesota and spoke with the outgoing offensive coordinator John DeFilippo. And Courtney, what did he tell you, or what do you know now about the situation?
Well, Wendy, actually spoken with John DeFilippo this morning, but with sources around the situation that told me that when the Vikings got back earlier this morning around 4 a.m., there was a meeting that took place between the offensive coordinator and Mike Zimmer around 10:30 this morning, where DeFilippo was made aware that he would be relieved of his position of offensive coordinator. And this was a situation where DeFilippo did not, as I'm told, did not go in there saying that he wanted out of Minnesota. It was, in fact, quite the opposite. But I was told that this was a decision that was left up to Mike Zimmer, which is something that typically happens with coaches in their second contract, that they are in charge of the personnel on their coaching staff. In terms of what that means that Rick Spielman did not have the final say here in relieving John DeFilippo of his duties. But that decision was made about 3 hours ago now. Then Kevin Stefanski, as the team announced, will become the interim play caller for the next 3 games. Now, in sources I've spoken with inside the building and around the league, this does come as somewhat of a surprise, despite the fact that the writing was on the wall for quite some time here, with just some of the disconnect between offensive mindsets between Mike Zimmer and John DeFilippo. But the timing of it with 3 games left does come as a bit of a surprise.
Courtney, let me ask you this. Are we to infer then that the head coach and the general manager perhaps we're not on the same page regarding this decision, or simply that this was Mike Zimmer's call to make?
From what I'm told, this was Mike Zimmer's call to make, that this is his coaching staff and the direction he thinks it's going right now. It ultimately was left in his hands. Zimmer has publicly criticized the offense and really some of the decisions that John DeFilippo has made for several weeks, even months now. And that's not to say that there was much of an internal rift between the two personality-wise, but it was just not being on the same page from a football standpoint. And that's, going back to the comments of the imbalance on offense and Zimmer wanting to see more of a balance between the run and pass game. Also in terms of volume in the run game, he's made it a point to say that there was too much volume in the playbook coming out of that loss in Chicago on Sunday Night Football. But also with the run game, Zimmer has been adamant that they need to run the ball more. And I asked Mike Zimmer about this yesterday. Is it more now just an issue of execution over balance? Is balance a moot point because you ran the ball 21 times and you threw it 33, and neither really generated any sort of offensive success for the Vikings in Seattle. And said it's really, you can't convert on third down when you're getting stuffed on fourth and short, when you're unable to shove the ball in from inside the 4-yard line of Seattle on 4 different chances. That really does boil down to execution.
All right, Courtney, thank you. Certainly an interesting situation. Again, given Mike Zimmer's public comments, I don't think it's out of the question or a huge surprise that this decision was made. But you do get the sense here that there was a complicated relationship for whatever reason, Dan, and I would gather for much of the season that's been the case.
I don't know about how long throughout the season, but definitely within the past couple of weeks, there was a lot bubbling up. And when you hear Mike Zimmer come out and make the comments he made last week that sound openly critical of one of his coordinators, I think it's safe to infer that there's more going on behind the scenes, that's tip of the iceberg stuff, the stuff that we actually see. So from what I was talking to somebody yesterday who said, don't be, DeFilippo they were talking about making a change last week, decided not to. So it isn't a surprise that after a performance like that it happened. It's obviously too bad that it didn't work out, but it seems like there was a real disconnect there between coordinator and head coach. And we always say winning cures everything, and losing has the opposite effect. And if they were having success, I'm sure this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and I would say this. I would expect, and Mike Zimmer's a defensive-minded coach, but it seems like he was trying to have his influence on the offense in the sense of like, hey, we need to run the football more. Listen, not that he's asking for my advice, but my advice to him would be like get more involved now. I mean, I think, unfortunately, it's probably not what you want to do. It's not what because he's probably a defensive back coach at heart, right? I mean, but I think you need to get more involved in your offense if you want to go a certain way as the head coach.
Well, I think you even look at that game. You've got Pete Carroll running it 42 times, having success, playing defense. Yeah. That's what Mike Zimmer wanted.
Yeah.
And
it probably didn't help the cause there.
No, I think that's something he has to communicate. And as to the making a change on the staff, that's really more the norm than the exception, in that the head coach has total charge over the staff. Yes.
Especially to Courtney's point, after he's been there for some time. All right, big boys deserve love too, right? I mean, who doesn't love this? We'll bring you the best large man touchdowns, if you will, from the past season when NFL Live comes back.